Good evening, mobsters, fixers, and hackers alike. My name is Phoenix, and today we are going to be taking a bit of a detour from what I usually cover on this channel. If you're one of the 19 people who watch me, then you know that I mainly talk about VR titles that I'm fond of. But today we are going to be taking a bit of a detour, as I just said, and we are going to be talking about my favorite game of all time, Watch Dogs. And more specifically, my favorite character from this absolute mess of a series, Defalt. Now then, sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy, and please note that this video will contain spoilers for the entirety of Watch Dogs 1 and its DLC, along with very minor spoilers for Watch Dogs 2 and Legion. Also, please note that viewer discretion is advised, as this video will cover very serious topics such as suicide. Now then, all that being said, let's get right into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Defalt has left the building.
Our story starts as these stories so often do, not at the beginning, but rather the middle. By this point in the game, the vigilante Aiden Pierce has tracked down the man who killed his nephew, has witnessed his sister kidnapped by his old mentor Damian Brinks, and has tracked down Raymond fucking Kenny, aka T-Bone. And to finish this all off, he has killed the leader of the Black Viceroys, Iraq, and has stolen the blackmail held on the servers, which he plans to trade in for his sister's life. As we return to the bunker, an old abandoned CTOS test site, to decrypt the files, we notice something different once we enter a cutscene. As we talk with Clara and T-Bone about what's on these files, we notice something. We notice that someone's knocking, and they're already inside. As we try to ward off this mysterious hacker who somehow managed to break through the bunker's defenses, we hear Raymond say this.
I don't know who he is. I had a guess. That looks like piece of shit hacker for hire. Very good.
Hey there, Editing Phoenix here. I just wanted to say that this isn't actually the first time that we hear Defalt's name spoken. It's actually immediately after the first mission in Chapter 3, Hope is a Sad Thing, where Clara actually calls us to tell us that people have been noticing the bunker's recent activity and that it's been probed a couple of times by Defalt, who she says, quote, he's very good. I'll play the clip right now. I started holding the playthrough just to get this clip and I forgot it wasn't in the script. Anyways, here you go.
The bunker's been making noise.
What kind of noise?
It's online. Some people have noticed. Script kiddies, mostly. Nothing to worry about. I'll make sure they stay out. We've been probed a few times.
Probed?
There is only one that worries me. His name is Defalt, and he's very good. I'll watch him.
Let me know if he becomes a problem.
Eventually, we manage to trace the signal back to its source and are met face to mask with Defalt himself. He waves at the camera, and before locking us out, Defalt gives us a little parting gift, displaying the message, I know what you did, Clara, on the monitors before us, and he brings up an audio file on Clara's computer. Aiden opens up the file, and it's revealed to be a recorded call between Clara and a third party. What the call reveals, you ask? Well, it reveals that Clara was the one who found Aiden and Damian after the failed Merlot job, and what eventually resulted in the death of his niece Lena and the events of the game.
When has that ever bothered you? I trust the amount is satisfactory.
Damian Brinks and Aiden Pierce.
Aiden, someone's knocking.
Clara.
Aiden, he's trying to delete our shit. We're gonna have to shut him out fast. Aiden, come on!
After an argument breaks out, Aiden leaves to try and find Defalt, leading T-Bone into Defalt's apartment where he snoops around for a bit before Defalt calls fixers to deal with them. Afterwards, we're intended to lead Ray through this little area unnoticed, but as always, when stealth is optional, we drop the sun on him. Afterwards, we're led to my favorite mission in the base game and the last mission Defalt makes an appearance in the base game until the DLC. Track down Defalt to a nightclub called the Dot Connection where he's working as a DJ. We enter the club and we find out that Defalt has hacked into our profiler app and has left some interesting messages, to say the least. We eventually locate Defalt, who flips us off and seemingly runs off. And so, we chase him. We chase him across the rooftops, fighting off the fixers that Defalt has hired, and eventually take the chase down to the streets below. We chase Defalt through the streets, trying to stay close enough to download the information he has stolen from us, all while trying to not crash or lose the data completely. Eventually, after we successfully retrieve all of our data, we're instructed by the game to take down Defalt. But we actually have a choice in this situation. If we, the player, either let Defalt go, or they simply get far enough away from us, they will successfully flee, and we'll be told that the car that Defalt was driving was traced to a spot nearby. There, we find a rosewood, along with Default's mask, tossed to the floor. But then again, you could just shoot the guy and be done with all of this. But the reason I mention this is because of the DLC, Watch Dogs Bad Blood, which takes place a bit after the events of the main game. Lucky Quinn is dead. Aiden Pierce has been publicly revealed to be the vigilante, and in this DLC we play as T-Bone, and the main antagonist of this DLC is Defalt himself. But the player had the option of killing him in the main game. What, is one outcome just non-canon? Well, the game actually gets around this, but for that, it's about time we move on to the DLC.
No fucking way. What are you doing in here? Hey! That's my fucking coffee!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Relax, you guys. First of all, this is anything but coffee. And secondly, I'm here because head office hired me to run a pen test on your system. And good job, guys. You passed.
Now then, before we continue talking about the main character of this episode, let's set the stage a bit. As previously stated for the DLC, we take control as Raymond fucking Kenny, one of the leading engineers who worked on CTOS and is most infamous for causing the Northeast blackout of 2003, which resulted in 11 deaths. The reason behind this blackout was to try and spread awareness about how easily someone could manipulate a system such as CTOS and be given too much power from such a thing and that nothing good could possibly come from it. And for this, Ray has been public enemy number 1 for years and has been viciously hunted for said years by both the authorities and Bloom, the company behind CTOS. In an effort to get out of Chicago, in the first mission we play as Raymond planting a false trail into Bloom's systems, which he plans to use by having them follow what they believe to be Ray down to somewhere in Mexico while he heads the other direction. But this plan goes sideways when, out of the blue, he gets a call from an old friend, Tobias Frewer, right as he's supposed to skip town. Ray frees Frewer from the trunk of a car, which leads us to investigating why Frewer was attacked by fixers in the first place and trying to find out who hired them, which leads Ray to an abandoned mansion in the woods, fixer outposts,
Horse tranquilizers.
I totally understand.
and eventually to Defalt. We follow a fixer to an abandoned train yard and clear the place out. Afterwards, we're introduced to Defalt, but how the hell are they still alive? Well, just under the monitor, there's a phone we can hack, and the phone reveals to us that the Defalt that Aiden chased down and potentially put a cap in was a lookalike that was hired by Defalt to distract Aiden while he hid under his DJ equipment. Hell, in the main game, you can apparently see Defalt hide under his DJ equipment, but I forgot to record this, so take it with a grain of salt. Now then, back to the plot. Defalt contacts us after we hack into one of his servers where he throws around an insult or two without really saying much, but Ray recognizes the building in the background as the old Humanized security building, which allows him to find where Defalt has been hiding. And as such, we make our way over there. And when we arrive, we find that the site is absolutely filled to the brim with fixers. We find a way in and clear the place out, eventually finding a way to unlock the door to the main building, where we suspect that Defalt is hiding. Ray climbs the ladder, opens the door, and is met with this.
Enough fucking games, alright? What is this?
I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Raymond fucking Kenny. And death followed behind him.
That's right. Defalt has constructed these twisted models of how each individual died during the Northeast blackout of 2003. How each and every one of these people died because of Raymond Kenny. When we open the Profiler app and it targets the mannequins, it recognizes each of them as an individual to torture Ray over his most infamous mistake. 11 people died, and 11 models have been made. One for each and every single one of them. But you may have noticed something. We only saw 10. Where's the 11th? Well, Defalt has saved one for last. The one whose death started everything. Defalt's own brother.
Investigators have confirmed Raymond Kenny, an ex-Bloom Industries employee, is responsible for the blackout, which has resulted in 11 confirmed deaths. Kenny's motivations are as of yet unknown, and Bloom has...
No! It's all bullshit! That's not the way it went down at all, you twisted psychopathic fuck! Is this how you get off? Well, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck.
They called it suicide. But he was on watch until you cut the power and let him out. You murdered him! Murderer! Murderer!
They died because I wanted to send a message. I thought I could warn people about what was coming. Show them that one person can shut down a whole system.
In the months after your crime, each one of these families found a lump of cash in their savings. Was that you? Did you try to buy your redemption?
I tried to make it right.
Oh, you'll make it right, Ray. That's a promise.
The room is plunged into a blackout as we run down the stairs and prepare for the oncoming onslaught of fixers we'll have to deal with. But quickly, before we deal with all that downstairs, I'd like to take a moment just to commemorate the excellent vocal performance done by the actor. Now then, the reason I phrase it like that is because I genuinely have no clue who voiced him, as there's conflicting sources everywhere and it's not even stated in the game's credits. Some sources say it was done by Anthony Lemke. I hope I'm pronouncing their name right, although many sources say that he only did the motion capture for Defalt. And it was done by Adrian Burhop, who did the voice acting, although many sources also say that he only did the acting for the base game, aka the part of the game Defalt never speaks in. And so I'll just say this, whether it was Adrian Burhop, or Anthony Lemke, or hell, even someone else entirely, they did a damn good job playing the role of Defalt, and especially in this scene in particular. It is quite obvious just how much they cared about this role. In fact, originally, this video was going to be entirely about this one scene right here, and we even went through multiple revisions of the script before I decided to expand it into the character as a whole. Now then, back to the main story. Ray deals with the fixers sent after him. You, the player, can choose to either fight them or flee the scene and lose them. Either way, afterwards we return back to the silo where we are met with Frewer, and there we realize that once again, someone's knocking. We descend down the elevator and prepare for the oncoming onslaught. The area has been prepared with armed cameras, along with traps similar to the ones built by Raymond at his junkyard, which previously served as his home. As we do what we can to hold off the fixers, we hear Frewer trying his best to counter Defalt's hacking. Eventually, wave after brutal wave of fixers, we emerge victorious, and return to the center control console where Frewer reveals that he was secretly an assassin all these years because he somehow stabs a surviving fixer in the head with a screwdriver after jumping down an elevator shaft. Like, Jesus Christ, Frewer, where the fuck did this come from? Either way, the fixer who tried to ambush us is dead, and Frewer tricks the fixer's boss on the phone into sending the location of Defalt's hideout, where he has prepared for us one final trial, one final challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the verdict. T-Bone arrives at the train yard, and we see that the place is crawling with fixers once more. We've got an enforcer set up in the back as well. We deal with them however we so please, and we make our way to the other end where we find an open train car. We hack the panel on the wall, and the car closes and the train begins to move into the underground structure. Inside, we're led into a labyrinth created by Defalt, filled with mazes, arenas, and more. After a bit of hacking, we find ourselves in a giant room littered with fixers, elites and enforcers filling their ranks. We eventually identify the two who we need to hack, and after clearing the room, we open the giant doors before us and are led into a viewing deck. A viewing deck which overlooks a giant maze in which the walls are constructed from giant monitors displaying Defalt's logo, and Frewer is trapped within the maze. Using the various cameras around the room, we lead Frewer through the maze, helping him avoid detection from the various fixers and doing what we can to draw their attention away from him. Eventually, Frewer makes it out to the other side of the maze and the door next to us opens. As Frewer gets away from the maze, and as we make our way down to where the maze is located, the monitors that make up the maze all begin to lower into the ground, creating cover for the fixers and for us to use in this final gunfight. Throughout this labyrinth, Defalt has used the help of infrasonics to deafen Ray as he fights his way through the only people who stand between him and Defalt. Eventually, all the fixers are defeated, and we can make our way to the control room to finally confront Defalt. And as we confront Defalt, hoping to put this to an end once and for all, we step through the door. Defalt welcomes us and announces that this game is almost over, but it is time for the people affected by the deaths at the blackout to vote on whether or not Raymond should meet the same fate. And for one last time, let us roll the clip.
For those of you playing at home, now is your chance to vote. Should Ray here earn his freedom? Turn off your camera if you want him to walk. Keep on watching if you want to see how this plays out.
If you do this, you'll be suffering from the same damn guilt that's been eating me up all these years. I'm sorry I did what I did. And I'm sorry that this fucknut dragged you back into it. But even if I deserve this, you don't. You don't.
I guess we've got our answer. So long, Ray. Bye-bye. Sayonara. Adios.
Hold up your phone! Hold up your damn phone!
Defalt is dead, choked to death on the very poison meant for Raymond Kenny, the man who caused the blackout, the man who caused his brother's suicide, and the man who ruined his life. A life he has dedicated to this very moment, and all of it was for nothing. Ray and Frewer talk for a bit, agreeing to stay in Chicago to try and find a crack in Bloom's armor, and finally repairing their friendship. The end credits show the two of them sitting at a beach, watching the sunset as they talk and joke around, happy to put all this nonsense behind them. But you may be asking yourself, if Defalt is dead, then why is there still so much more time left in the video? Well, That is because of one simple thing. While the man himself may be dead, his legacy is anything but. And so to find out just how far his influence has spread, we must move over to San Francisco and to Watch Dogs 2. In the second Watch Dogs game, Defalt does not make a direct appearance as well. He's dead. But instead, it's rather his rat mask and his general motif that makes an appearance, aka his branding. In the game, there's a side quest called Rodentia Academy, in which a group called the Ordinate Academy is using the branding of Defalt in order to draw attention to themselves and their organization. So to put it in other words, despite using the Defalt branding, they are in no way related to the Defalt himself, who had mysteriously disappeared a few years back at the time the game takes place. And as such, I will not be covering the side quest outside of explaining that it exists, as I'm doing right now. But there's only 3 missions in it, so if you're interested and want to know what the hell it's about, you can just play it for yourself, or find a walkthrough online if you'd like. And this also goes for Watch Dogs Legion, arguably the worst game in the series for the simple fact that it does not have a main character of any kind, but rather, you can play as any NPC off the street that you'd wish. Cool idea in paper, but Ubisoft really fucked it up. Like, it is terrible when it comes to the gameplay and general story, and to the point where it is unlikely that we'll ever get another Watch Dogs game again, which really sucks considering that this is my favorite game of all time, or at least the first one was. The second game was also pretty damn good, and I'm not going to talk about Legion. But anyways, on to Defalt's only appearance, and I don't even know if you could call it that. If you go to this location on the map at a very specific in-game time, then you'll be able to enter a mysterious nightclub hidden in the sewers of London, in which a bunch of Defalt-esque decorations such as the mannequins and the LEDs, along with a remix of his nightclub music from the first game, are seen. At the turntable, there's a box which contains Defalt's mask, which you can then equip to your operator if you so wish. And yeah, that's really it. Like, no, I'm not joking, that is literally it, there is nothing else. And yeah, not much of Defalt is ever really mentioned after the first game, although that is pretty fair seeing as they literally died in the DLC's ending. Although this hasn't stopped some of the fans from theorizing that he somehow survived or used another body double and that they were the one who actually got gassed at the end of the DLC. But against this is evidence such as the fact that Defalt's logo is on the digital trips, and after which they were never seen again in the franchise, which could suggest that Defalt is the creator of these digital drugs which phased into obscurity after he stopped making them, presumably because of his death. And there is also evidence such as the fact that this would be a better conclusion for the character and a better general story arc. If he were to have somehow survived, it would have really taken away from his story in Bad Blood and would have just been, honestly, a decision that modern Ubisoft would have probably made, which hopefully it isn't. But yeah, that's about it, and as such, that brings us to the end. And I gotta say, this video was a lot of fun to make. This video script went through multiple iterations and rewrites, and had multiple people proofreading each and every copy of it. Until eventually we landed on this, and I gotta say I am really happy with the way things turned out. Now then, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program, and I do hope that you stop by again sometime in the future. Now then, with nothing further to add, enjoy the rest of your evening.